Hello and welcome to another episode of the Full Force Weekly, brought to you by Generals Joe's REBORN.com with me as your host, Christopher McLeod AKA Diagnostik80. For today's episode, I'm joined by the awesome Patrick Notpicard Stewart. In this regular video series, we round up all the week's news in the world of G.I. Joe. What is it, Pat?
It's the Full Force Weekly.
Yes, it is. Hello and welcome to the Full Force Weekly. Pat, how you doing, buddy?
Doing okay. I feel strangely awake for how little sleep I've been getting.
Oh no. Well, that's good. I'm glad you feel strangely awake, even though you're grossly underslept. I love the fact you're repping Starcom today.
Oh yeah. U.S. Space Force Starcom. It's the best from 1987, right?
Sweet, man. Sweet. I saw a post, was it today, that had your you commented on it with like the most in-depth explanation of, I think Mark Belomo posted a question about something about Starcom, and you were just like, well, here's all the information you're ever going to need, and I don't think any of the other comments were necessary.
Yeah, it's still kind of a mystery. It was Emperor Dark, the mystery of what happened to that mail-in. I don't think it happened. Yeah. But you know, it's difficult to say that something didn't happen anywhere at any time. Who knows? There could have been like some tablets that went out somewhere, and that second series of Starcom stuff was impossible to find in the United States anyway. I only ever saw one of them, so it was crazy.
And yeah, that little Emperor Dark figure was well cool. Didn't you get one? Didn't you have one like tucked in a blooming vehicle as well?
I did. Yeah, I imported a Shadow Bandit. And the box is a little smelly, and yeah, it was moldy inside.
My bad.
Which was, did you do it?
That was me. That was all me. I remember it well. I was caught short. I needed to wee where I was, and unfortunately, the only thing I had was a half-open Starcom Shadow Bandit. So I threw Emperor Dark in there and had a wee. There you go. That's mystery solved.
It was sealed, so that must have been a different one. The one I got
sealed it afterwards. I sealed it afterwards because I knew you were going to get such a lovely present there. No, that's disgusting. No, that's amazing, man. Yeah, for those who aren't aware, there was a figure, wasn't there? It was Emperor Dark. You didn't. We still aren't sure was released or not. If it was, it would have been a very, very small accidental.
Well, technically, it was released.
Okay.
Because of the fact that it did come in those boxes. Like the European stuff would have like just a bonus figure advertised on the outside of the box with a sticker. And they did tend to be, you'd get the same character in certain boxes.
Yeah.
Not exactly, but you know, like if you wanted a bomber, you wanted to look for the Starhawk SFB, and generally you might find one in there. But the Shadow Bandit sometimes would have Emperor Dark in it, and I bought one. I opened it up, and there was an Emperor Dark. He didn't have his scepter.
Were you happy?
I was very happy, yeah. But at that point, I already had one because
good.
There was that seller from Canada who was, releasing them out, and I think that he was the one who said that there was a mail-in, but it's difficult to confirm. Other than Coleco actually did mention that there was going to be a promo for him, so. I think that's pretty much all that there is to the story.
That's pretty much it, isn't it, basically? Welcome to the Full Force, which is now turned into a Starcom podcast, guys.
I will turn everything into Starcom given the chance.
We should do the Starcom Weekly. It would be just the conversation about this comment you've made today on Mark Belomo's post.
We've probably talked about all this before when we did that Starcom episode of the Full Force years ago.
Oh my God, I love those episodes. We did some great episodes, didn't we, back then?
It's
real
in-depth. 7 years ago? 6, 7 years? Yeah.
It's been that long?
Probably. It's probably been that long.
Oy, that's a shame. Anyway, we've got lots to talk about in the world of G.I. Joe today. Loads of news to get stuck into. And we'll start with, obviously, the usual. We've been starting with this a couple of weeks now. And that is a little bit of cheeky comics news.
It's been another busy week in the world of G.I. Joe comics, as both A Real American Hero issue 303 and Cobra Commander issue number 1 came out to stellar reviews, I have to add. A Real American Hero continues to intrigue me with the current storyline, and the art is just beautiful. Cobra Commander was the latest release in the Energon universe and gave readers an absolutely thrilling time. No spoilers of course, but the new origin features some familiar faces, and I have to say, so brutal in parts. I'm loving the darker approach to both series currently, and cannot wait for more from these extremely exciting continuities.
Indeed. I have to say, I know, Pat, you're just getting onto the comics bandwagon as of last week. I know you've had very little time to enjoy any of these comics, but just before we move on to Cobra Commander and A Real American Hero, how are you getting on with your little stack? Because you got a few little kind of Energon universe comics recently, didn't you?
Yeah, I only have the first 4 issues of Void Rivals, but I only had time to read the first one anyway, so I haven't.
Really good. Before we go any further, Void Rivals, how good did you enjoy that first issue?
I did. I love the way that they've introduced this Energon universe of making it official. Hey, there's an Energon universe, and you know the first book being out like so quietly, and just here it is. You know, it doesn't give anybody. I think they were smart in not giving people enough time to hate things in advance without any. You just know how the internet is, like just hates things without seeing it. Yeah. So it was like such a good move to just make sure that there is an issue out within the universe that people could be like, okay, this is how the story pacing is going to be. Give a little bit of a teaser. It was a good approach to things. I enjoyed that. And then definitely. I read the first issue of Duke as well.
Oh, what do you think of that?
I really enjoyed it. Yeah, it's what people have said it is. I have only one big reservation, and I don't have the issue of Cobra Commander. So, I mean, I shouldn't even say it's one big reservation. I kind of feel like if you're going to be running 2 issues of G.I. Joe at the same time, or 2 universes that include G.I. Joe at the same time, it's probably smart to make them very different to serve 2 different audiences. And, well, I don't think at this point it's anything spoilery, and it may be a surprise coming from me, but it almost feels like they're leading to G.I. Joe being formed as a result of the Transformers. And it almost feels like they should cross over, but not be the causation of one another.
I see what you're saying. Yeah, I know exactly what you mean there. I think I have a feeling that G.I. Joe sort of exists in the universe, because you're seeing a lot of the kind of characters, and you're seeing. I think it's going to be one of those things where like Hawk will come out and it'll be like, yeah, we've had this covert group the entire time. They're like special forces sort of thing, like under the Black Ops, etc., etc. There'll probably be something like that. I don't think it'll necessarily. I know what you mean, though. It does feel like, with like Duke not really kind of being part of that yet, and just seeing like Cover Girl and Stalker and Rock and Roll are kind of in the distance somewhere, and like you're feeling like Hawk's almost kind of bringing the team together, and it's being created because Transformers happened, basically. Yeah.
Well, it kind of feels that way. It's not definitively that way either.
No.
I mean, that could just be me reading into it incorrectly, because obviously they already know each other. It's I think that there's only so much you can do in one book.
Yeah.
And I don't need to know. They didn't really need to put that in there, whether or not it was, but
yeah,
I just am not sure if that's where it's heading. But at the same time, like, I did watch the Talking Joe breakdown of it. So if anybody has, even if you have read the issue, I think that's a good idea to do that, because they give a really good insight into just how the function of comics, like how comics work. They understand that outside of G.I. Joe, like how motion is conveyed in a comic and tone is set in a comic.
Yeah.
And they really break it down just from the viewpoint of people who understand comics, not just G.I. Joe fans. So I think that as far as that goes, just analyzing it as to whether or not is this a good comic book, without being without GI Joe bias involved.
Totally,
you'll get out of that. So I really enjoyed that.
That's a very good point. There have been a lot of times when I have been really excited for GI Joe comics, and I've definitely felt like I'm enjoying this because it's GI Joe, not because it's a good comic. And that's happened quite a lot in the past. Honestly, there have been times when it's been like, this is a great comic, and it's got GI Joe characters in it, which is great. And that seems to be the case. When that happens, that's when it gets like, you know, like you get your Cobras and you get your, you know, your Chuckles and you get your silent option is what I'm trying to think of there. Not silent,
Yeah.
Silent option. So those kind of stories where it's like, oh, this is really depthy and there's something else going on here and it's really cool and yeah, a bit darker and interesting. And yeah, I love that stuff. Anyway, that's what I feel like with Duke. I feel like when that first issue of Duke was just absolutely awesome, and it just had vibes of that Cobra series, that kind of Chuckles undercover Cobra series. So like, I'm really excited with where they're going with this, and I am genuinely really like buzzing every time another comic week comes by and it's like, oh, Skybound have got more GI Joe comics out today. It's like awesome. So like that's been like a definite like bonus. And the fact that I fell out of Transformers comics a little bit. I was really loving like Lost Light and all that kind of stuff. And then I kind of fell off before IDW lost the license. I kind of was really kind of like struggling with it. And the fact that, again, Skybound have got hold of it, there's some really solid storylines already. Void Rivals, I know it's not Transformers, and I know it's like one of those things where it's in the universe that Transformers also are in. It's just like a really good standalone story, and like that it gets better as well, Pat. Honestly, like I'm like, what, 7 or 8 issues in, is it now? And just absolutely buzzing on it at the moment. I think it's up to 7. I might be wrong, but it's great. Anyway, let's come right now. Before we go on, or before I start talking about Cobra Commander and A Real American Hero 303, I'm going to say right now, we're not going to do any spoilers on this one. It felt like we could talk a little bit about Duke, because there weren't any kind of massive things to really, you know, spoil. And I did give you a heads up, and you could.
At this point, Duke has been out for a while, though, right? I thought.
Duke I mean, we're talking Duke now because we spoiled it last week, so it's not.
That's what I thought.
A couple of weeks ago. So yeah, but it felt like we could. With Cobra Commander, I'm going to give it another week before we start talking about it, because there's a lot of stuff in there that obviously I think if people haven't read it, I want them to be surprised. They may have been spoiled already. Wouldn't be surprising the way, you know, chatter happens on the internet and everything, and how it all works. But Cobra Commander for me was so good. Like, it was just, there was this kind of like ominous, mysterious darkness to it. There are familiar faces. I'd say there's a familiar origin story too, but it is a definite twist on that. So there's a real, like, I don't know, it's just really, really cool. And I love what they did with it. There were some great cameos, some great kind of like another kind of big, like something that I completely forgot was even connected happened in it. And I'm just like, oh yeah. So you'll understand when you read that comic. But it's like, and again, for the people that are like in the comments, they probably already know what I'm talking about. But yeah, there's some just really interesting, cool moments, and I really liked it. A Real American Hero 303. Now, what I'll say about A Real American Hero is the first issue, really into it. It was 301, as it were. Really enjoyed it. Like, fast paced, loads of stuff going on. It was all kicking off. It felt like they were trying to like tie up loose ends to some degree and start the new story arc as quickly as they could, which was totally fine. I understand why they were doing that. 302 sort of like slowed that down a little bit. And 303 is again like one of those like kind of storytelling points where certain things are being lined up, ducks in a row sort of scenario. So we've had a big kind of incident on Cobra Island. The cover of 303 might be giving it away here that Serpentor Khan, not Serpentor, but Serpentor Khan is, you know, affected in some way, shape, or form. And so, again, no spoilers, but I really like the way that they're approaching this one. And I love the artwork in A Real American Hero. I don't know what it is about it. It's just speaking to me, and I don't know what it is. It's just really cool, and I'm loving that. So yeah, and it's great as well, Pat. You mentioned that on one side you've got sort of like a classified aesthetic. You didn't really say this, but you said that making the two issues very separate, very specific to their own audiences. And you've got like kind of classified designs on one side, and then you come over to A Real American Hero and it's all that kind of familiar vintage vibe. And so it's just great. So I was really excited. I was reading both these comics in the week, just kind of like a little kid again. I say like a little kid again. I am just like a little kid most of the time. So that's not really a big statement, is it? But no, really excited for these. I would have to say it's going to be one of those ones with Cobra Commander where I think you're probably going to be on the fence. Sorry, you're not going to be on the fence. You're going to be one way or the other. Not to give too much away, but you might feel strongly about it. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. But yeah, go on, Pat.
I said in the only post that I made on the Talking Joe when I watched it, like it got me to thinking how a lot of times whenever there's these reinventions of familiar properties, especially what has happened with Transformers, because that's had more reinventions than G.I. Joe has, I think. A lot of times it feels like each one is just trying things out, kind of workshopping things, seeing what latches on to the community, like what sort of things end up in everybody's headcanon.
Yeah.
What things work and what things don't. And hopefully we realize what did and didn't, and what caught on with fans, and then keep that for the future. And I don't know. You don't want the Energon universe to just be the same thing as the Marvel continuity, only 300 issues behind.
Right.
So it's going to have, whatever it is, it's going to have to be different. But in being different, I'm sure that as I'm reading it, there will be some stuff that I'm like, no, that's not how I see that character.
Right.
And there's going to be some stuff where I'm like, ooh, this is a really, like, we haven't seen this before. So it's going to be fine, but I would really like to get caught up on what Larry is writing.
Yeah, that's got to be your next big project.
Yeah, I get to read 2 issues in a week, so 155 behind. And I did start Marvel Transformers UK not too long ago, so
we'll come back in 4 years when Pat has caught up with the Real American Hero universe. Awesome. Anyway, that is comics this week. Again, we'll probably get into a little bit more detail on the next episode. And hopefully, Pat, you might have caught up a little bit more with that one, at least with Void Rivals, because I'd love to talk to you about that, because it's been really cool, that comic. Anyway, that's Cobra Commander 1 and A Real American Hero 303. Next up, we have Renegade Game Studios.
Renegade Game Studios have revealed their latest Axis and Allies games, including a G.I. Joe version. Battle for the Arctic Circle tells the story that Cobra has established a base at the North Pole and threatens the world with its weather dominator. Only G.I. Joe is ready and able to defeat these forces without drawing the entire world into a larger conflict. Admiral Keelhaul and Snowjob lead the Joes against the aggressive forces of Cobra, led by Cobra Commander and Destro. The game features over 100 plastic miniatures, classic Axis and Allies gameplay with a G.I. Joe twist, and is available to pre-order on Hasbro Pulse for $60. Current shipping estimate is June 15th of this year.
There you go. Axis and Allies for G.I. Joe. We knew this was coming. We've known for many months, thanks to Renegade Game Studios live events. They talked about this, I think, on their last live event. They said they were doing Axis and Allies, and G.I. Joe is going to be one of them. This is the first time we've seen exactly what that really looks like. So yeah, really cool. Now, have you ever played this before, Pat? Like originally, have you ever played any of the old Axis and Allies games?
Nope, never.
Yep, same. So I'm assuming it's very similar to Risk. Let me know in the comments if that's the farthest thing from the truth ever. But like, have you ever played Risk?
That's been a long time, but yes, I have played Risk.
Did you play Risk when it first came out in like 1980, whatever it was? It was actually probably older than that.
Isn't it?
Is Risk 70s?
Quickly
50s find out.
Maybe.
Because Risk has been in my lexicon ever since I was born, pretty much. So I've played it. I've played it.
1957.
57.
Yeah, that's
a lot. That's a lot older than I expected. Wow. Anyway, it's far more complicated. Apparently, it's way better than Risk. Axis and Allies is way better than Risk, says Adam. Christopher says it's far more complicated. Axis and Allies is far more complicated, or Risk is far more complicated. Adam says Axis and Allies is a great game, and Chris says Axis has building, factories, and resources. Oh, that's cool. That's really cool. It's definitely something I'm interested in, but when are we going to play this? None of us are ever together. Imagine if we lived nearby and we got to hang out like all the time. We would play so many games, wouldn't we?
Yeah, we'd probably live stream this once at least.
No doubt.
Yeah, but we don't. But it is available again right now. I know it's sold out really quickly, but Hazard Repulse does have it up for pre-order again. I just checked.
That might have been a glitch because there were a lot of people having issues when it first went up, saying that it was saying sold out, and I don't think it was. I just think it was. I'm not sure if it was set up correctly, but if it did actually sell out and they put another load up, that's great. That's awesome. I wasn't aware of that either, but that's fantastic. Anyway, up for pre-order now if you want to jump on it. That's great if they're selling out of that stuff. Honestly, that's really good news. Anyway, the game box features Robert Atkins artwork, as you can see, and you can tell Robert Atkins from an absolute mile off, can't you? He is like Mr. G.I. Joe when it comes to the illustrations.
Yeah, for sure. You can spot it.
And again, we've got like Cobra Commander, we've got Snowdrop, we've got Admiral Keelhaul, Blizzard's on there. We've got the Weather Dominator in the background. I think the Rattler, the Sky Striker, the Snowcat, some Snow Serpents of different flavors, Baroness, and the Cobra Wolf. I believe that's everything that's on there. Brian as well. Brian Atkins did I want to say the coloring. Is that right, Diana? Did Ratkins do the art and Bratkins do the coloring? Ratkins and Bratkins. Yeah, I think so. Anyway, awesome stuff. It's an Atkins squared situation anyway. Thank you, Diana. Michael Jean Fleming says, Axis and Allies is a level or two more complex than Risk, but not as deep as some other strategy games. Good fun. I'm looking forward to the Joe one already pre-ordered. Fantastic. Cool. Yeah, awesome. And other than that, we did actually get a screenshot here of some of was it over 100 miniatures? How big is that box? How small are the miniatures?
I think they're pretty small, and I think that the box is pretty big.
That has to be the case.
Yeah.
that has to be the case.
I just looked at a regular copy of Axis and Allies to see how the pieces were laid out.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure how they're going to do this because I mean, the regular Axis and Allies looked like it just had the same pieces for each color, just recolored several times. And
right.
I would think that you would have some Cobra teams and some G.I. Joe teams on this.
Yeah, well, it looks like in this they're split up into sort of like a 1 inch. Thank you, Adam. It looks like they're split up into color situations here. I think you've got Snowdrop in blue, you've got the Snow Serpent in red, the Rattler in red, the Wolf in red, and obviously the Sky Striker and the Snowcat in white. So that kind of makes a lot of sense, I guess. Yeah. Every faction was different in sculpt, says Adam, by the way.
Oh, really? Okay. I thought they were all the same.
Well on here with the Axis and Allies games. Diecast Nick says, are all the figures the same? I don't think so, Diecast Nick. Adam will let us know. But at the moment, I don't think it's just. I think you'll get Cobra Commander, Destro, Admiral Keelhaul, and multiple of the Weather Dominator. I'm sure all of those will be in there too. I'm almost certain of it. And they'll probably have they'll probably have a lot of Snow Serpents. Baroness will probably be in there as well. We'll see. We'll have to get a bit more information about this one. We need to speak to Ryan Costello. That's who we need to speak to. We were supposed to get him on months ago, but that fell through, unfortunately. Anyway, I want to use these with Risk 2210 and Legacy, says WJ. Awesome. And Diecast says, you can paint these like Warhammer, question mark. That's a question for Adam Odell. But yeah, it looks like you can paint them if you wanted to. I don't see why not.
Yeah, I don't see why you couldn't, except for the fact they're going to be really tiny, so it's going to be a challenge.
Yeah, that would be ridiculous. But no, yeah, you can. Awesome. I have seen the board for this as well, and it's like hexagonal, right? Is it hexagonal?
I have no idea. Absolutely no idea. I didn't think so. I thought, I'm looking at a copy of the regular one. It's just a rectangle.
Yeah, as in there's like
it's
like broken up into different like hexagonal piece like sections, I think. That's what I saw anyway, but I may be wrong. Adam says no.
Okay.
Territories. Okay, so it's territories. Okay, split up. Okay, cool. Awesome. That's true, actually. You could paint Monopoly pieces if you wanted to, W. That's very true. Don't know what yeah, that's actually, yeah, you could paint anything, really, if you wanted to. That's absolutely true. I could paint Pat if I wanted to. Just go over there, just start painting him a different deco.
You're not live streaming that.
I could do Tiger Force Pat. That would be great. What would you prefer, Pat? What sub-faction would you want me to do you in?
Tiger Force wouldn't be too bad.
Would you have the vehicle Tiger Force, like with the mouth and the eyes painted on like a tiger?
Or maybe how about Shadow Ninjas? I'll force you to find some color change paint.
How would that even work?
I don't know. I'd have to become invisible.
Leon says tap repaint. Yeah, tap. I'll have to do like a what's that called? Mirror Universe or Shattered Glass. I'll do a Shattered Glass Pat. Anyway, yeah, so that's Battle for the Arctic Circle, Axis and Allies. I'm excited to see this actually in person. So link in the description if you want to get in on that. It is $60. That is quite, that's probably about the going rate for games though, isn't it, really? That stature. So
yeah, this looks like it's not something that's a tiny box. So no. I think that you're definitely buying it because it's big.
Kitty said. Anyway, yeah, that's Axis and Allies. I'm going to definitely try and get Ryan Costello on the show to talk in a bit more detail about some of the Renegade Game Studio stuff. We need to do that. We need to set that up soon. Yeah. Okay. I think that's everything for Axis and Allies. Let's move on now. Yeah, cool. To a bit of clothing news. Yeah, it's about that time to get some form-fitting activewear on.
Activewear brand SUPERX have fully revealed their brand new G.I. Joe clothing range featuring Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow hoodies and joggers. All items feature callouts to the brand with Arashikage, Cobra and G.I. Joe logos adorning the threads. The Storm Shadow set is sleeveless, homaging his early appearance in the cartoon, and both sets are form-fitting for those ninja gym sessions that I'm sure everyone will be participating in as a New Year's resolution. You can order both sets from the SUPERX website, link in the description.
This made me laugh. Jamie Lynn says, if you punch tap, would Pat feel it?
I probably would, yes.
That'd be Zaytap and Pat Max you're thinking about. Zatap and Pat Max. Right, yeah, SUPERX, G.I. Joe. Pat, are you going to be squeezing into any of these bad boys?
I don't think so. I just... The form-fitting aspect of these,
sexy, isn't it?
No, I don't. I can't. I don't even like to wear socks that are tall. So looking at the bottom of those pants, yeah, like I don't own tube socks. That just doesn't happen.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's got to be on a t-shirt, hasn't it? I don't own tube socks. That's not going to happen. Brilliant. Yeah, I think they look really cool. But yeah, I'm the same. I think it's going to be you definitely getting this if you're wanting to show off what you've been getting up to at the gym, not what I currently look like right this minute. And also, we've got a sleeveless version. If you want to get your arms out, Pat, if you want to go sleeveless in Seattle,
yeah. Yeah. Yeah, no guns out for me. I will not be buying this.
Oh, sorry, I couldn't help myself. Brilliant. Sleeveless in Seattle. I like the homage though. I think that's some deep cuts.
It is, and I could see actually this being kind of popular in some ways for some people. I actually see this as making sense for some workout gear. I don't know really if you really need a hood while you don't have sleeves. But hey, maybe you're jogging and it starts to rain. I don't know.
Your Storm Shadow, you've got to have a hoodie with no sleeves. Do you know what I mean? I quite like the gear. You could probably get away with this as some sort of cosplay as well. You could rock this at a show, throw a couple of swords on your back, and your Storm Shadow.
They don't look kind of like Spanx, do they? Like if I put this on, does it just squish my body into that shape?
I hope that, dude. If it did, I'd be buying them right now. Could you imagine what your arms would look like if all of your body was squishing the rest of it?
Maybe it just squishes some biceps onto me.
That would be amazing, wouldn't it? That would be amazing. Like how big your arms would look if all of your body was squeezed out of the arms holes. Amazing. Amazing. Oh, Ryan Daly says, my fellow countryman, Dan W. from Dan Who Reviews, said he's got an interview with Emily and Lenny coming this afternoon. That's awesome. Yeah, we hopefully should be getting ours sorted soon, but just you know what it's like, clearly. We're not good enough. We're not good enough anymore. We've been dropped. I'm just kidding. Shout out to Dan Who Reviews, actually. Yeah, Dan's really cool. We linked up a little while back and everything. He's really, really nice dude. And I think actually, did he pop in to see Nick? I want to say he was in Demand Toys as well. But anyway, yeah. Love how Chris laughs at his own joke, so I don't feel like I'm laughing on my own. I like that, Luke. Yeah. I can't help myself. If it's a funny joke, I'm gonna laugh. I can't help myself. And usually it's only funny to me. Pat just sits there and is like, what is he talking about? See, is what I'm saying? John Smith says, is it available in 4XL? Oh, I don't know. I don't know the sizes, but maybe not. Or if you are 4XL, like Pat says, hopefully this would squeeze your body into the shape that you want it to. I don't know. But anyway, amazing stuff. Yeah, I'm definitely digging that sleeveless vibe just for the homage for Storm Shadow, man. That's amazing. I will say, I don't know how much these are yet because they're supposed to have gone up today, and I went to the website and it still hadn't kind of updated. So I don't know, maybe later today or we'll find out soon. I was expecting to get early access in terms of because I put my email in there ages ago and haven't had that come through yet either. So who knows? They did say the 19th though, which is today. So hopefully we'll get some information soon. I'm just looking at my emails just to see if anything has come through. No, not yet. Not yet. Anywho, that is SUPERX, Pat. Expat, I just said. Next up then, we'll get into a bit of Heritage Auctions news. Heritage Auctions posted a huge G.I. Joe collection auction on their website earlier this week, featuring a bevy of carded, boxed, and in some cases graded vintage figures and vehicles. The auction is live right now and will be up until the 16th of February, so get those bids in. Absolutely. So this popped up, didn't it, mate? When was it? I guess it was in the week at some point. And loads and loads of like graded, carded, boxed vintage stuff. I mean, there's some really nice pieces in this auction.
Yeah, there's definitely some rare stuff in there. If you are buying boxed stuff, you'd be silly to not check it out.
Yeah, and I thought we'd highlight a couple of little cheeky items. Maybe have a look at some next week as well, and do like a little update on see how things are getting on. But the SMS, this one, the Sears exclusive, it's kind of impressive to see this one in a graded box, isn't it?
It is, yeah, very impressive. I like seeing this one. It's not one that I see in person very often at all, and it's
No.
neat to me that the Sears logo is there in red. Is that normally in red? I thought it was like in white or blue.
I don't think I've noticed it's always been red on the SMS box,
It
but I
has,
think
yeah.
yeah, I wonder if that was done, yeah, specifically for the
It's
Cobra.
Crimson Sears.
Yeah, yeah, Crimson. Amazing. Yeah, I've got to admit, this isn't one you see very often, but I also like the fact that it's quite, this whole set is quite topical at the moment. The fact that we've got an SMS around the corner, obviously we have a classified HISS tank now as well, so you can kind of do it. It's just like not a Crimson HISS tank.
Right. Yeah. And I like the fact that it actually says a Crimson Guard weapon on the cover of this box.
That is dope, actually, isn't it? I like that. Yeah, I do like that there are differences. Do you know, I don't think I've ever noticed that in my life. I don't think I've ever noticed that little tagline on there. I know that sometimes
I was just looking at this thing thinking, well, how do we know it's a Crimson weapon? And then it's like a Crimson Guard weapon right there on the front.
It couldn't be any more clear, could it?
Yeah.
They could have put some Crimson Guards on the box. That might have helped. I would say as well, like, because obviously sometimes they'd put a Cobra Command weapon, or they'd put that kind of stuff. Like the tagline would be slightly different. But I don't think I've ever noticed that it says that ever. That's crazy cool. Anyway, yeah, lovely stuff. That is again, what's the price? It's a bidding scenario, Agent 369. So I don't know what it is. Last time I saw, I don't know what it is currently. It's also I should point out that this auction ends on the 16th of February, I want to say.
I think that's what you said.
Yeah, so like keep that in mind if you are going in for any of these. Make sure that you kind of check in. And then the other one I wanted to kind of point out today, we'll have a look at some different ones next week, but I thought for today's, I just love what is effectively a triple error card Python Trooper. This is just freaking hilarious to me. I love this. Is this something that you would be tempted by at any point, Pat, to get involved in?
Well, if I had seen this in the wild a long time ago, I would have wanted it. This is something that's just so ridiculously weird. Now, I can remember seeing a theater edition Luke Skywalker packaged like this as I was working in the box office many years ago at a movie theater. And I didn't get to keep that one because we were just going through so fast. And it's like, oh man, that's different. But it was gone. So this isn't the only time I've seen this carded like this, but this isn't the only error on it, right?
No, there are two more errors, and I don't have the I should have put the image on here, but if you were to flip it round, the back of the card is actually the other way around. So in relation to what the G.I. Joe, if you were to flip this like that, it would be upside down on the other side, basically. So the next error is that the back is upside down, right? And then the other, well, obviously the first error is pretty obvious. The figure and bubble have been attached to the wrong part of the card. So obviously, but like I said, if you flip it around, it's the right way up on the other side for it. And the third error is the fact that it's a Viper card back. So you've got three completely ridiculous errors on this. So it's a real, like, I could see this one being a bit kind of popular on this particular auction.
I could too. I mean, I can almost see how the error on the back would have caused this, but then I wonder how it didn't end up being a Viper inside the package. You know what I mean?
Maybe it was one following the other. Like they were doing Vipers and then they were doing Python Troopers, but it's weird that would happen because were they separated by a large amount of time? I can't even remember when they came out.
It's not a Python Viper on the back. Is it a regular Viper?
It's a regular Viper on the back, I believe. Let me just double check. I'm sure it was a regular Viper, but I'll just double check while you're talking through that other thing.
Yeah, no, I don't know. I can kind of imagine the way that this thing would have been carded is that the figure lays down inside the tray and you put the figure and his accessories in, and then from the back of it, you put the card, while it's laying down, you put it so the person putting it down would see the back of the card, and then that gets heat sealed on. So I can totally see how the orientation of the figure to the back of the card would match. But the fact that then the figure doesn't match the figure that's on the back of the card, you'd think that the person putting that together would go, wait a minute, this doesn't make sense, and catch it. And I wonder how many of these were caught and prevented from making it out, because it couldn't have been a small mistake. And just the fact that everything would line up, you know, I don't know. I guess this would probably be a question first for somebody who's dealt with a lot of printing.
That's true. I bet Brian Hickey would know.
Yeah, he probably would know. Or James Kavanaugh. James
would know, absolutely.
Would be a good one that I would ask. You know, how would that happen, that the fronts and backs would get misaligned? Because
I'm still searching for it. It's a long way down the list.
If you fed the sheet in backwards, maybe would that somehow cause it to be messed up?
I wonder if when they did, if they had done that you'd end up with like more than one, was what I was getting at there. Like you'd end up with like loads of, you know, errors of the kind of same kind of style, because of, you know, if you're doing like a big sheet and you're, you know, and it's like a big factory one, they all like get like pumped on at the same time.
Yeah, because it's like a sheet of like 8 different characters or something like that. But even that's a little weird, you know, the fact that you're not just dealing with one character all at the same time.
Right.
Because stuff tended to be gang molded with G.I. Joe in the vintage days.
Man, I've literally scrolled through the entire listings so far and just can't find it. Is it literally the last one on here? Nearly there, guys. This is really just so I can see if it's a regular Viper.
See if it's a regular Viper.
It's a Python Viper, says M Price. He's just told us. That's much easier than me searching, I must admit.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that kind of makes sense. Maybe they were doing all of them together.
That makes way more sense.
Yeah, I don't understand why it would have ended up this way.
It's fun though. Yeah, and I just love the fact that not only did they mess up once, but they messed up like so many times with this one that you end up with this absolute, it's a vampire trooper, Justin. That's 100% right. Python vampire trooper. Errors like that happen when you find out you're about to be laid off by Hasbro, says Rachel. Possibly. Maybe it was all that glue went to someone's head, says Adam. That's actually another good point there. Yeah, brilliant. The guy on the assembly line was sleeping or drunk or something, says Tristan. Yeah, there's definitely, because at that point it's a dude doing that. It's a dude closing the thing down and it going, stamping it on there. But yeah, it's great. Or maybe they were just messing about. Maybe they just went like, let's just do a stupid one. Like, there's a funny thing with the Palatoy era towards the end. In fact, not even towards the end, but like just in general, there's this thing that they call, I think it's like Friday afternoon specials is what they call them, and it's effectively factory mistakes and errors and miscarded and all that kind of stuff. And it all they all think the theory is that it all happened roughly around as the Friday was coming to an end. And everyone was like signing off for the day and couldn't really be bothered anymore. And that's where you get the most like problems and issues and stuff like that. And there's loads of Palatoy carded errors like that, where you've got, you know, a figure on a completely different card back, or on the wrong point of the card back, or the card is like not finished, or there's all sorts of different things. And it's just crap. It's got the wrong accessories and the wrong figure entirely. It's just hilarious that happened so often, and we're off. A lot happened, I will say, towards the end of the run that Palatoy had in '85, but there were definitely some wicked variants in the Palatoy era, which I'm sure you know about, Pat. You were a variant hunter at one point, weren't you?
At one point, yeah, a little bit. Yeah, I've hunted some of those down in my time. Yes.
Do you have some of the Palatoy ones?
Well, Palatoy stuff, I mean, I don't think I have any errors or anything like that, but I collected I have collected some variant Palatoy because there's what is the Meccano ones that have the hard limbs versus the other ones that have the soft limbs.
Yes.
Yeah, I have some of that. Sure.
Awesome, man. Phil says, I would like to get a Palatoy Baroness. Are you asking me to get that for you, Phil? Like I have some sort of hookup there? Because I don't, but I hope you do get it, definitely. I say that, but I might have a Palatoy Baroness.
Carded.
I'm trying to think if I do. No, I don't think I do. I don't think I do. There was that whole like 85 run, wasn't there, where no, I'm not sure actually. That's something I'm going to have to double check when I get home. This is a problem, isn't it? When you don't know what you have anymore. I mean, I know you come across that sometimes, Pat, where you're not sure if you have something or not.
Well, and then there's sometimes where I was sure I didn't have something, and then I'm sorting my collection, and it's like, oh, now I have two.
Yeah, I almost bought a whole run of Cops carded figures, not realizing that I already had a run of those exact Cops carded figures. So I was very fortunate because I had them in my hands, and I'm just going to double check. I checked on Hoarder, by the way, my Hoarder page, and I already had them. And I was like, actually, that's a really good use of this app, is to just double check every now and again. Do I have this already? Yes, I do. Moving on. So yeah, that's exactly what I'm getting at, Mark. If you don't know if you have something or not, then you have too much stuff. Fact. It's very true. Very, very
true.
Yeah,
that's probably true.
Well, there's no argument there at all. Leon says, I have 3 carded 85 Palatoys and they're worth a fortune. Yeah, I got them when they weren't crazy expensive, thankfully. But yeah, now they are, which you could look at is a good thing and is also a bad thing. But I don't know. We can look at it whatever way you want. Anyway, that is Heritage Auctions. Check out, we'll obviously link in the description if you want to check out the auction right now. And yeah, get to bid in on some. I mean, there are loads of items. We've looked at 2. There are apps, the hundreds. It took me ages to scroll through them on the phone a second ago. It is crazy how much stuff is on there. Anyway, yeah, go check it out, and yeah, we'll update next week. Anyway, next up then, Pat, we have a bit of classified. In fact, this is your favorite. I thought I'd finish on your favorite pastime, which is classified listings. Oh, look how upset he is.
Yeah, I'm probably going to zone out for the part where you're talking like Buttercup and Blossom and Brainy Smurf and Aki and whoever else is up next that isn't really up next.
We had yet another batch of new G.I. Joe Classified Series internal code words pop up courtesy of HissTank last weekend, and thankfully we were able to fill in some of those gaps. Let's get into Pat's favourite pastime.
Right, new classified listings popped up. Like we said, HissTank posted a bunch, including these new ones, not counting Brainy, which we already knew about. But the rest of the list were pretty much known. I think we'd either been leaked or we'd found them and posted about them and talked about them for a while. But these particular ones were kind of new to us. So that got me into my confirmation mode, where I had to then go off and try and find out what these actually were. Astro, George, Jane, and Pebbles are effectively a 4-figure wave, kind of like a future 4-figure wave coming in August of 2024, as it says on the date right there. And the Retro Collection, Wave 2, they're calling it, which consists of, although it wouldn't be Retro Wave 2, would it? It'd be like Wave, I don't know, because we've got others coming before these, I think. Anyway, it's all a bit confusing.
Well, sure. This is one of those things that to me is always weird, that fans just keep on adding the wave numbers to things. Like, it was something that drove me crazy in the 25th era. The people will be like, oh, that's wave 14. And it's like, no, it's wave 2, 2009. Like, yeah. Usually the boxes will actually have the wave number on it. So it's possible that it's wave 2 and they've reset the numbers with them going to mass retail, right?
True, but I'm trying to think of if it's like we've got Duke, Scarlet, Recondo, right?
Yeah.
That's technically wave 1. If we wait until August for wave 2, I'd be surprised. And we do know that we've got Cobra Commander, we've got what are the others? Maybe that's it. Maybe it was because I'm obviously Snow Serpent, Eels, and what's his name? Beachhead are all in there. Anyway, we'll get to that in a second. We'll look at the whole picture and then we'll make our minds up then. But yes, maybe it is wave 2. It just seems weird that we wait until August for wave 2. But I'm sure that's in hand as opposed to revealed or whatever. I'm sure that's August in hand or on shelf date.
And sometimes and then August in hand means like June in hand too.
True. If they're that's very true. And if you're in a different area of the globe, it could be that you got it 6 years ago somehow.
Somebody's going to post that they have it right now. Yeah.
So yeah, Tutor, All-Star, and Brainy. Although, like I said, Brainy we already knew about. That's Beachhead. But we'll get to Tutor and All-Star in a second. And Muttley was the other one, and that was the pet name, the figure and pet set. So that's lots of awesome stuff coming. Now, this is where we can start busting it all down for you guys. Now, this is our updated listings that we know about. We know the listings. We publicly don't know what they are, or we do know what they are. So SMS Techno Viper is Shug It. We know that's Shug It, and we know Raptor is Frankenstone Deluxe. We don't know Blossom Vehicle is HB Blossom VEHs, but we are aware that HB is a designation used for exclusives. That could mean Walmart, Target, or Pulse, as far as we know. I'm not sure if it could mean Amazon and Fan Channel. That might be a different designation. But as far as we know, HB almost certainly means Target, Walmart, and Pulse. Okay, so hopefully that will help in some of our, where things might be and where they might go. TNS Buttercup. MM Scooby VEH is the Cobra Ferret and the Ferret Scout. So we know that Scooby is the Ferret and the Ferret Scout. And we don't know what MM Scrappy is. We just don't. Not a clue. Then, though, we get the first kind of reveal. I've done this already on the news burst, so it's not like revealing anything crazy. But if you did miss that news burst, it's Norgahide and his boar. Muttley Pet is the code name or the internal code word for these two, and that is F9241 for my spreadsheet homies out there. Team spreadsheet, I think we were doing the hashtag. And then so that's Norgahide and his boar. Nice to know. It's nice to kind of fill in some of these gaps though sometimes, Pat, especially when I know you don't like this, and I totally understand why, but it must be nice sometimes to just be like a bit relief, just be like, yeah, check that one off. Don't have to worry about that anymore. I know what that is.
It's just nice to see actual names on the list rather than code words. And I mean, maybe I should reiterate for people, it's not that the whole idea of a code name annoys me. It's the fact that I really enjoy going back to some of the old lists of things to see where stuff was and how things were laid out and what the plan was. Because in the old days, you just get the list of the figures, and then if something got dropped, that would be the thing that would make me aware of it. But trying to figure out, what they're doing and a pre-production standpoint, which is some of the stuff that I just enjoy digging into, is kind of just gone because of this. So I don't like it.
Yeah, no, like I said, I get that 100%. Fred DLX, not a clue. It's not even worth speculating on that one, because I think we kind of go down the same avenue with it. I think people would like some sort of, maybe it could be, is this a deluxe and it's got Fred in it? Maybe it could be Battle Armor Cobra Commander, or maybe it could be some sort of, situation like an actual Fred. But I don't think it's never usually on the nose like that. It's never usually like, on obvious. And of course, then we move on to the first 4-figure wave in this listings, and that is Elroy, Judy, Betty, and Bam Bam. Of course, we know Elroy is Alpine, Judy is the Iron Grenadier Bat, my bad, and Betty is Iron Grenadiers, but we still are waiting to get the reveal of who Bam Bam could be. And then we move into, obviously, Daphne, which is Starduster, and that is one that really kind of excites me, because I look at MM and Deluxe and I think there's something significant there. It might not be a vehicle, because that would obviously be a VEH, but there's definitely something significant coming with Starduster, which makes me kind of excited as to what that could be. I'm still thinking, Pat, with that Starduster thing, that we might get something that kind of like complements the Dragonfly release, sort of like a, like could be a jump pad that doubles as a helipad or something. Again, don't know, but in terms of big things that Starduster could come with, that's the only thing that really pops into my head.
It's still, for me, it's the flames like a base with him just taking off is what I'm picturing. Some sort of flight stand or flames like an effect piece. I could also see some of the effect pieces that come with the Dragonfly maybe working. Well, I guess they would already have to work with a jump jetpack, wouldn't they?
That's a good point, though. I think you've got a good point there. Like some sort of ridiculous flight stand or something that attaches to a jump. Yeah, that would be pretty dope, actually. That's really, really cool. Mark says, this is obviously pretending to be you here, Pat. It's not the concept of code names that annoys me. It is Chris forcing me to talk about them each week that annoys me. So yeah, right. Totally true on that one. RKW, trying to find even more connections here to my Battle Armor Cobra Commander idea. Battle Cobra Commander was in the same wave as O-Ring Raptor. I like your thinking, RKW. I mean, there have been moments so far in the classified series where they've kind of lumped in sort of themed at the same time, vintage sort of themed things have happened at the same time. Like we've had figures, we've managed to complete 87 here because these three figures came out in the same wave or whatever. Do you know what I mean? Like I kind of feel like they've done that to some degree in the past. Not like every single time, but we've seen that every now and again.
Yeah, and they try to release some complementary things. Like two Arctic guys around the same time. I'm glad that looks like it's snowing outside right now, and I've got a snow job, so there's that.
Yep, I took pictures of snow job in the snow, finally. Chris, I think you can stop apologizing for leaking the bat now. Time to leak something new, says Justin. Amazing. I'm going to try not to, actually. Flaffle says, anyone see at the LC that Doc is Carla Greer? That's interesting. Where's that information from, Flaffle? Because is it just one of those things where someone has kind of thought as an idea and it turned out to be fact? Or is it one of those things that's actual information? Because that does happen quite a lot, unfortunately, in this community. There tends to be like a thing of like, this is coming, definitely, and then it isn't. So it'd be nice to know, actually, it'd be interesting to see if they do Carla Greer as Doc. But as far as, what do you think, Pat? Do you think Doc could be Carla Greer?
It could be. I don't know how that information would be out already. Maybe somewhere there's a listing that says Carla, quote, Doc.
Could be.
Greer.
Could very well be like on a listing and what have you.
Yeah.
That's the only time I would, if a listing came out with that on it, I'd be like, yeah, there you go. There's some proof. But sometimes these things are just that, like, they might have been said in a certain way, and then it picked up elsewhere, and then they turn into something else, and then it becomes, So again, I don't know. Actually, I don't know what version of Doc it would be. I'd kind of assumed actually that
it'd be the Sergeant Savage one, of course.
Of course, it was going to be the Sergeant Savage one that I forgot to talk about, I think, on the Let's Talk Classified Doc video. I had to put something up after the fact on that one. Chris, you need to step your game up. Need a future HasLab leak, says Johnny. Are we okay? Right, cool. So I'm just trying to read some comments as we're going on. Saw a formal list on Facebook, but it may be speculation. Right. Okay. Well, yeah. Again, like I say, if we get something that comes through that corroborates that, I will be talking about it a lot. So we'll see. We'll see what that brings us. Anyway, coming back to the list, Nemesis Immortal. This is where my speculation hat comes on, because there's this thing here, Pat, on this listing, and again, I'm probably reading into it way too much. But hear me out. Atlas DLX, right? And Whipsnake's 2-pack. With Atlas being Nemesis Immortal and Whipsnake's 2-pack being a Troop Builder 2-pack, following number, so G0335 for Nemesis Immortal, G0336 for Whipsnake's 2-pack. Atlas and Whipsnakes are the names of professional lacrosse teams, and no other listings have that connection yet. They're not like Atlas and Whipsnakes are not characters from, they don't link to anything else on our listings, right? So they stand out a little bit together. Does that mean we're possibly looking at a Royal Guard 2-pack here?
No. I'm just kidding. It could be. I just wanted to shoot you down fast and see how you took it.
I mean, you're quite possibly right at the end of the day.
I am possibly right.
There's a 50-50 that what you just said there is spot on. So I'm literally
it is
crying.
tough because I think that whenever they're naming these things, obviously you have like, well, I don't know, because like if you look at Elroy, Judy, and Betty, well,
it's Jetsons and Flintstones, isn't it? Basically,
it is. But at the same time, Judy and Betty, who are Jetsons and Flintstones, are closer together in number, and are kind of themed together with Iron Grenadier and Iron Grenadiers.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
So I kind of just think that, I mean, not to shoot you down more legitimately this time. I kind of think that the names, the code names, just come down to, hey, these items are now on the list of things that we need you to give a code name today. And the person making code names is like, I'm in a cartoon mood today.
Yeah.
And just starts plugging those in. And I don't know. If that's the case, I think that would be really cool. But I think that the existence of Nemesis Immortal is just an indication that more Cobra Law is coming.
Yeah.
But I don't know how smart it would be to put them all on the shelf at once. I do think that doing something more special with Cobra Law still is the thing that makes a lot more sense to me. And I didn't think about it until we were just looking at the name Nemesis Immortal. It'd kind of be neat if they actually made Nemesis Immortal and Nemesis Enforcer 2 different characters, wouldn't it?
Actually, that would be quite cool. Yeah, kind of change up the design a little bit, make it a slightly different kind of situation. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, make it his dad.
Maybe give one the green and the green tendrils, and have that be Nemesis Immortal going forward.
Ooh,
and have the one from the cartoon be Nemesis Enforcer. That'd be neat.
Yeah. Well, anyway, that thanks for shooting me down, Pat. I appreciate that. But no, it's funny, but it's true. It could be, but let's face it, it just as easily couldn't be. And then of course we've got Highway Pet, which again we not publicly known as yet, but looking forward to finding out who that's going to be. What I have been able to say in the past is it's a character that isn't well known for having an animal companion, and that's all we can say about it. But I'm excited for that one to kind of be out there. Anyway, that's that first section, and we flip over to retro, and retro tutor is Snow Serpent. So that this was worked out because obviously those listings that came up from his tank, I was like, oh, are these new retro figures, or do they like lock into older ones that we know about that are coming? And it was the latter. So with a bit of cross-referencing with the numbers, so that F9864 number was attached to a retro tutor listing. It was also attached to a retro Snow Serpent listing. So those two things go together, and thus we have retro tutor being Snow Serpent. The same can be said for retro all-star being the Cobra Eels. So those have now been kind of like unlocked in terms of what we know to be coming. So wave 2 could make sense, Pat, because if they're saying Snow Serpent, Cobra Eels, and Beachhead are going to be the next wave, that makes sense. That would be wave 2, which I would imagine then would make Casey Oki and Azrael Wave 3, which we know Casey is Cobra Commander. We are still, we are still unaware of Oki and Azrael. We have ideas, but we can't speculate on them because for other reasons. But basically, we don't know. We just don't know who Oki and Azrael are just yet. That's just how it is. But that makes sense. That could be then in that case, Snow Serpent, Eels, and Beachhead could be Wave 2 because we've had Wave 1 already. And Cobra Commander, Oki, and Azrael could be Wave 3. That makes a lot of sense. And also, I mean, it doesn't make sense. Well, actually, I'll tell you something. The fact that Cobra Commander's number is F9677 is a much lower number than we've got with these other figures. And I think Gargamel, aka Recondo, is a much higher number in that Wave 1. I have a feeling that some changes were made there, and that Cobra Commander might have been originally planned for that 3 first wave, and then they decided to maybe push him out a little bit because of his tank, possibly. Just a theory.
It could also just be that they developed him along with his tank. So since his development was earlier on,
that's true.
They just gave it a number. Maybe
that's actually more likely. The fact that it was so much, it's already done effectively. They might be changing one aspect to it. Yeah,
but having a nice plan to actually separate it in time, because I think putting that Cobra Commander on the shelves right after his tank was released would be a bad idea.
Yeah. No, I think you're right. I think you're right. And then obviously, so that's all kind of retro sorted out. And prior to retro, just above that in the listings, we've got all those HB ones, which we don't know. All we can say is that HB Yogi is a Target exclusive. HB Zorak is a Walmart exclusive. It's also a 2-pack. And HB Boo Boo and HB Space Ghost, we don't know. We just know they're exclusives. We just don't know which ones they are. I have a feeling they might be Target exclusives, but I just don't know 100% yet. So I'm not gonna confirm or deny anything yet. All I'll say is that we know that Yogi is Target, Zorak is Walmart and is a 2-pack. Boo Boo and Space Ghost, we just don't know yet, but we do know they're exclusives. Cool.
Yeah, if those really are coming out in August, and we're already seeing listings for after August with Cobra Commander and Aki and Azrael, man, it's really following up with what Emily said of the year being a little more spaced out than
absolutely. So I imagine in terms of the plan, the Wave 3 of retro would be revealed towards the end of the year, but you probably wouldn't have it in hand until 2025. That makes sense, right? Or maybe right towards the end of the year.
Yeah, unless they do a couple retros close together too. I don't know. It could also be that they want to give more time to get some of the retros out of the store, because I don't know what Walmart near me is waiting on. There's, pegs of Lady J's around here still.
Totally. So far, Snorks equal Cobra, Smurfs equal Joe's. Yeah, absolutely. Figure 6-pack says HB equals Hasbro Pulse exclusives. No, HB equals exclusives in general. So Target, Walmart, and Pulse. So yes, but not just Hasbro Pulse exclusives, I should say, figure 6-pack. Basically just means exclusive, store exclusive, I guess, is what it means.
And then you have to line it up with which one of them it is.
Absolutely. So anyway, that's that little segment sort of done, even though we don't know what it is. All the retro sorted. Of course, we got the information from Jedi Jaybird a couple of weeks back about Rough and Ready being the Action Marine and the Action Pilot. There are a few more details that we can't go into just yet about those 2 particular figures, which are pretty cool. But hopefully, they'll be revealed sooner rather than later. And then we can move on to the final group of listings. So Pat is probably like, thank goodness we can move on to the end. Night Creeper is Astro, which is nice to know. Yeah, and I'm so excited about this, mate. The Night Creeper is definitely one of my all-time favorite Cobra sort of like, not even sub-team, but you know what I mean? Like because they're their own thing, aren't they? Enemy
they
faction,
are kind of a sub-team. Yeah, they kind of are a sub-team, just without a ton of different iterations within the team. But, you got a couple of Night Creeper leaders. Actually, there are a lot of Night Creepers at this point.
Tons. But I would say, like, in terms of the universe, they're more freelance than they are salaried by Cobra. They've got a contract with Cobra.
Yeah.
Cobra Commander specifically. But yeah, you're right. There's loads of Night Creeper related paraphernalia. I mean, you got the Night Creeper leader. You got all the Night Creepers. You got version 2 Night Creepers. You got all those different repainted modern era, new sculpt era Night Creepers. Then and then you've got the winter one, and then you've got the kind of different was the blue one that was, I want to say, homaging the urban camo, maybe.
Right. Yeah, and then there's the urban camo one too. So yeah, I think that maybe was homaging that one. I really don't know.
Hard to say. All of a sudden, they just did a blue one. They did a blue one and a purple one in the modern era.
Yeah.
Just there you go. Enjoy.
Well, the blue one was kind of Rise of Cobra universe, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was in that like was
Walmart
it a 2-pack? Yeah, it was one of the 2-packs, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Either with Tunnel Rat or no, it was Monkey Wrench and Tunnel Rat, wasn't it? Was it 1 2-pack?
Right. Yeah. So I don't remember who
was with the
Night Creeper was with.
Who was with the Night Creeper? Let us know in the comments, please. Anyway, Night Creeper. There you go. Astro F9438. This was another one of having the listing that just had the Night Creeper and the number, and another listing with Astro and the number, and you just put them together, and boom, Bob's your uncle. It's really fun. I find it so fun when I can cross-reference numbers and listings and get like an answer. I absolutely bloody love that. Shock Blast. Thank you, Robert H. Thank you very much. So it was Shock Blast and the Night Creeper. That makes a lot of sense. Thank you.
Yeah, that makes sense. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the polar white one is dope. I really love that. It's one of my favorites. Okay. Yes, there was that Night Creeper that in the Snake Eyes Origins line, Talking Joe. Yes, Mark. Which, yeah, kind of like the 6-inch line for kids sort of situation.
Yeah, it was kind of like a 5.5-inch line though. Like they kind of work okay. I would like to compare them maybe to Tunnel Rat in the classified series to see if they kind of hold up to him.
Yeah, the only problem is like limited articulation, of course, as well. And it was, I mean, it was all right. But I want a Night Creeper in the classified series. It's going to be so good. It's going to be so awesome. And of course, we've seen the pre-pro heads of both Night Creepers as well, which is pretty dope. And yeah, that's something
That's right.
Oh, yeah, and it looks good. Like they've gone very close to the vintage artwork with the head sculpt, and I'm here for it all day. They even down to the kind of wave of the hood is kind of like, you know, very similar to the artwork.
Yeah, and the Ninja Force one, I keep on saying that I'm becoming a broken record about the fact that some of this stuff should just be done as a full-size helmet.
Yes.
But that sculpt looks really good. I mean, I'll know better when I have it in hand, and this is definitely a pre-order one for me. I want Night Creeper, and I want it as soon as possible. Now,
awesome.
give it to me now.
Yeah, we'll get on that right away. Next up on the list of the 4 figures is Dreadnought Torch, aka Jane, like that. F9859. Same situation. You know, 2 listings become 1, like the Spice Girl said. And that is pretty much what we know exactly in terms of the listings. Torch is another one we've seen the pre-pro head for. Looks really good. I think I'm actually on board if it is fixed glass shades and it isn't loose shades, because there've been so many issues with the buzzer ones that I'm almost like hoping that Torch is kind of like just the whole thing's just molded. I mean, would you prefer removable shades for him?
Well, I didn't have any problem with Ripper, but I didn't pick up Buzzer because I was just, money's an issue always. And the rate at which I've been buying them, I was trying to slow down there a bit toward the end of last year. And Buzzer's on my list. There's no way I'm not going to ever buy a Buzzer. He's one of the key fun Cobra figures for me. So I will definitely have the original 3 Dreadnoughts, no matter what. But yeah, I kind of agree. The shades on him could just stay in place, and that'd be fine.
Leon says Torch is trying to put his hand in his own fire. Yeah, I've never noticed that before, Leon, but he is, isn't he? He's like doing it just to warm his hand up. That's all he's doing. It's hilarious. Paul says, I'm hoping they're not removable. Leon says fixed shades for sure. Buzzer will be up at a cheaper price point at some point, says Charlotte. Probably, actually.
Probably. Yeah.
There's a song about Jane. Orange Cassidy from AEW has it as his theme song. Thanks, Figure Six Pack. No Marauders on the listings. Flaffle. Are there any Marauders on the listings? Not that we're aware of, but we do know that more Marauders are coming. So that's all I can say on that one. But so yeah, don't just be patient. We're you're probably not going to find out. We're probably not going to know about them listings wise, because there's obviously you're talking repaints for the most part. So we'll see. But there's definitely more on the horizon for sure. I wonder if they'll ever make Shadow SW figures of those ninja guys. SW. Jamie Lynn, help me out here. SW.
I'm not sure what SW is.
He's talking to Paul, actually. My bad. You're probably having a conversation with someone else. I apologize for just diving in there. Star Wars. You're talking Star Wars, aren't you? Sorry, my bad. So because you're talking between yourselves. Sorry, I don't know why I got into that conversation. That's hilarious. Anyway, yeah, there's me being a right nosy git. Like, oh, they're having a conversation together. That can't happen. You've got to talk to us. You can't talk to each other. What do you think this is? Some sort of like fun therapy session? Anyway, wait for Sergeant Slaughter to leak the Marauder news, says Mark. That is so true. All Sarge does is leak stuff. It's hilarious. Yeah, sorry, Jamie Lynn. I know what you're talking about. I was being a douche. Anyway, the last two on the list are Pebbles and George. Now we do know that Pebbles and George are Jinx and Doc. We don't know which way round, and right now, thanks to Flaffle, we don't know which version of Doc we're going to be getting now. But it looks like so Jinx and Doc are Pebbles and George. We just don't know which one is which. So there you go. So that would be the last 4 figure wave on that list: Night Creeper, Dreadnought Torch, Jinx, and Doc. Now I think that if they're going to be August, then Alpine, Iron Grenadier Bat, Iron Grenadiers, etc. That's probably going to come first in the year. Would you agree with that, Pat? Does that make sense?
Alpine, Iron, yeah,
as a 4-figure wave.
I would think so. Even though I said what I said about Cobra Commander, I think that that's an exception to the rule, and that I would agree that came in the listings first and was entered first. So it's probably what is in the pipeline, and pipelines are pipelines, and what comes out the other end comes out when you put it in the front. So the only thing it's the other thing as well is the numbers are all over the place. Like Alpine's an earlier number than most of the other ones, but then Iron Grenadier, Bat, Iron Grenadiers, and Bam Bam are all later numbers compared to what we have in the other list. You're right. So I don't know what I'm thinking.
I don't either. But yeah, it's just
59859, 59860. So Iron Grenadier Bat and Dreadnought Torch were right next to each other as far as plans go.
Yeah, well, that kind of makes sense because Torch has probably been in the works just as long as Buzzer and Ripper have been in the works, and it's just a matter of spreading them out, I guess. Making people kind of. I think it's one of those things, isn't it, where even though Buzzer and Ripper, I'm surprised Buzzer and Ripper came in the same wave. Honestly, I thought they might do Buzzer in one wave, Ripper in another wave, Torch in another wave. That would make sense to me, but I think they wanted to get them out quicker, and you can't do 3 of a 4-figure wave Dreadnoks. So I sort of get it. I sort of get it.
Yeah, but what would that mean about Night Creeper? That puts him really early. 594.
Right, in terms of numbers, yeah. Well, I mean, the fact that we've got pre-production heads of those particular ones.
Yeah, that's a good point.
We haven't seen, although we haven't seen Alpine yet, and we haven't seen the Iron Grenadiers yet. But the Iron Grenadiers numbers a lot later. So again, we're going around in circles, aren't we?
Sequential within Hasbro. Like if I looked, would I find like 59431 or 32? If that's not on here, could that equal something Transformers? Like, is there something in every listing?
So if you were to look at a load of listings, including G.I. Joe, Transformers, Star Wars, etc., they all have different formats. They all have different kind of ways of doing things.
Okay.
So like I'll have to look at one of my old lists actually to figure out what the Transformers ones are, but they usually have completely different kind of like number systems and stuff like that. But yeah, chance that Doc could be deluxe, no chance, because we know Doc is one of the 4 figures in the wave. Anyway, yeah, it's
I don't know why I keep saying 5 when it's an F. I just turn an F into a 5. That's what I'm doing.
Oh, is that what you did before? You were 5, 9, 4, 3. Yeah,
that's what I was doing. Yeah,
it's because you need new glasses. That's all that is, mate.
Anyway,
glasses. The last thing I want to talk about in terms of Hasbro, they're the listings. That's all we know at the moment. We'll try and work out more, and we'll try and get some like an update for you guys as soon as we possibly can. This now, Emily posted this in the week, and this has kind of got me thinking, because obviously lots of things have been kind of happening recently. The Star Wars live event has just been kind of announced for next week. So I think we've probably got a G.I. Joe live event coming very soon. And obviously, Emily was in the archives looking at, stuff. She even said in here, no, it's a little late for a throwback Thursday, but I spent the morning at the Hasbro archives. I wanted to share the cool 90s Tiger Electronics games I found today. I think the G.I. Joe one might be my favorite. Star Brigade is always a winner in my book. Did you have any of these? Which one did you like the best? That kind of thing, right? So she's posting it on Instagram. But usually when Emily is in the archives, she's getting stuff for set dressing. And that set dressing obviously is for those live events. And, you could be one of those things where, you're looking too much into it. But let's face it, we're due for a live event. It's probably going around the corner, and we're starting to see other live events being announced. So I think very soon we'll probably see an announcement for a live event for G.I. Joe. Do you agree with that, Pat?
I think that's spot on. Yes, I totally agree.
I was sort of hoping you were just going to say no, like you did earlier.
Yeah.
That would have been really funny if you'd have just shot me down again. Amazing. But yeah, so exciting stuff. Probably look out for a live event very soon. And I would imagine more name-only reveals, more digital renders, and of course, more pre-orders around the corner. Does that terrify you, Pat, a little bit?
No, not really. I'm not as terrified by the pre-orders now that I'm, participating in so few of them. I want to know when that Night Creeper pre-order is going to go up. Otherwise, a lot of the stuff I will be fine just finding at retail, which has been working out for me for the most part. So
cool.
Yeah.
We also know that SMS and Techno Viper have hit the shores, courtesy of, I think that was Jedi Jaybird again. Yeah, and so with that, it's very likely we'll probably see the SMS as a pre-order soon as well. February the 1st is G.I. Joe Day, absolutely. Tac Tac Toys. It's very likely that it might be on February the 1st, or they might just do something. I don't know. They might do something soon, a live event, and they might do something for G.I. Joe Day like they did that time when they were just revealing renders all day long, and we had Steel Core and Televiper and the Trouble Bubble and Snow Job and somebody else that I've completely forgotten. But yeah, it was, hopefully we'll see, basically. We'll see what happens. But that's pretty much it, I think, for this week, Pat. Should we get stuck into our shout-outs?
No.
Have you tried Hoarder yet? No? Well, you need to. If you have a collection of things and want to create a fun and easy way of organising it and of course showing it off, then get involved. You can post items and build collections, and you can drop a status like getting a fun delivery or seeing some awesome related stuff on your travels. Build your collections with Hoarder. The app is free to download on Google Play and the App Store, so what are you waiting for? Get to hoarding.
Right, shout-outs. Pat, start us off then, please, my man.
Shout out, as always, to Philip, who I think is in the comments right now. Maybe not. Maybe he's not still there, but he was there.
Nah, he made one comment to make it appear like he was watching the show, and then just left, did something else more fun, and that's it. He's never coming back.
He may be working right now, to be fair.
Whatever, Phil. Whatever. Anyway, brilliant. Lovely stuff. Pat's on a roll today, says Sherlock. Yeah, he is. He's absolutely. He's just knowing me is what he's doing. Knowing me, knowing you. Right. Also, massive shout out, as of course, always to my wonderful wife Kate, and my little dog Phoebes, and the families in the US and the UK. Yeah, big shout outs as always. Brian Sauer as well for our amazing graphics. Got something cooking with Brian, which should be quite fun for something in the future, which I don't think we can talk about yet, but it doesn't really matter. We'll talk about it. We'll talk about it when time comes. But anyway, I think everyone can understand that, you know, there are a few. There might be some sort of live event coming in the future that Brian might be in charge of. But yeah, hopefully we can talk about that in more detail very soon. Yeah, awesome. So thanks, Brian, for our wonderful graphics. And then as well as that, David Gillis and Brian Hickey, they're dropping another Kickstarter. Now, this is for David's amazing Palatoy toy photography, mixed in with not just his, like, you know, classic photography, but then also custom work and all that kind of stuff as well. This drops on the 26th, I want to say, is it 26th of this month? I think it is. But anyway, link in the description if you want to check out, get in there early, basically, with the Kickstarter. And if it's not in the description, which it might not be, apologies, it might not be, go and you can find it on our Facebook page, Twitter, what have you. We've posted it everywhere. And then also here's a couple of lovely images from the book, showing, again, some great toy photography of the red shadows and mutons there as well, which is pretty cool. Do you like that, Pat?
Yeah, man, the use of the train track, really, it's just something I don't really see people do a lot in some stuff, and it just totally makes sense to do that. So I don't know why. I don't know. I like it. I'm always
awesome, isn't it? Really cool with that. And then also this one as well, which has got, again, a little bit of custom work in there, as well as, like, I think that Muton's got a few upgrades, which is pretty dope. And then Black Major looks like he's had a little bit. He's nicked Skeletron's waist piece by the looks of it, which is hilarious. But no, it looks great. I love this 5 o'clock shadow as well. Really vibing on that.
Is that a skeleton? I think is that a Kraken, maybe, or is that?
It's a Kraken, isn't it? Yeah, of course it is. Yeah. He's ripped the arms off a Kraken. He's ripped the arms and legs of a Kraken and used that as a body. Dope. Love it. Looks really good. Anyway, great stuff. Check that out. Like I said, it's called, I forgot what it's called. It's More News as We Get It, or something like that, I think, because it's from the commercial.
Yeah, Kickstarter has a feature where you can just be alerted to whenever something becomes live. So I've gone on there and clicked it as a saved project. Yeah, I don't remember exactly what the name of it's going to be.
More News as It's Made. That's what it's called.
More News as It's Made. Okay.
More News as It's Made. And again, that is like from the original commercials. They used to say the beginning when the news thing came up. Brilliant stuff. Yeah, David Gillis and, of course, Brian Hickey with that. Amazing. Again, it's another Palatoy related Kickstarter book. You know you want it. You know you want it. Anyway, as well as that, Kickley. Shout out to Kickley, who reached out to us after last week's episode, Pat, where we were talking about this particular bit of artwork, and we were trying to come up with, or we were trying to go like, oh, I wonder what the narrative could be, and we came up with our own like stories as to how Dusty ended up on Crazy Legs' back with a battle android trooper attached to them. And Kickley reached out and said the following. He said, first of all, he said, I like your stories on how Dusty got on Crazy Legs' back. So thanks, Kickley, for enjoying us butchering your narrative of what actually happened. And then he said, there was a mishap on a Cobra freight plane full of bats. Dusty got his pack cut off before they jumped out and detonated the plane. And thus, that's why you see Dusty then clinging on to Crazy Legs for dear life as a battle android trooper is trying to get at them. So there you go. That's the narrative. A lot easier than I think we kind of made it more complicated, if I remember rightly.
Yeah, I can't remember which one of our stories actually came a little bit closer to what Kickley was imagining.
I think mine was that they were on a plane transporting something they didn't know what it was. Turned out to be a bat it snuck in there by Cobra, caused all sorts of issues on the plane. then they had to like jump out because the bat destroyed the plane. And then this is what happened. Like Dusty didn't have a parachute. Crazy Legs did have a parachute. There you go. And that was my take. But obviously, again, I made it slightly more complicated than it actually was.
I just like the fact that, you know, a lot of times in traditional G.I. Joe, you'll see Snow Job just hanging out in base, or Torpedo, you know, with his flippers on. Yeah, and full wetsuit just running into battle. And this, you know, that's Dusty does not have a parachute. So here he is without a parachute.
Love it. Makes sense. It'd been funny if Dusty had the parachute and Crazy Legs was holding on to him. That would have been funnier because you'd expect it, but no, it would be weird. Anyway, that's beautiful. Love that one. We just wanted to kind of bring that up again and talk about the connection we had with Kickley. So thanks, Kickley. And then obviously he posted this one, which is way more brutal, and shows Law shooting a Cobra officer in the face and Order eating a Cobra officer's face or biting into it. So yeah, pretty hardcore this one, isn't it, Pat?
Yeah, this one's a lot more graphic. I like how he shows the motion of the weapon with the 3 shots coming out of the assault rifle.
Yeah, big time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really cool. Anyway, awesome stuff again, Kickley. Big shout out to you, mate. You're doing. We love all your work, and we'll keep highlighting it whenever you post it because it's fun. And this one, of course, he's been busy, hasn't he? This one was the interesting one because I forgot to put this up on the slideshow, and Pat reminded me before we went live. That's why we were late for 2 minutes. But this is a nice take on a G.I. Joe recon sled, as if, you know, back in the day they'd done a repaint for Cobra. I love it. Yeah,
you know, it almost makes me think that maybe the recon sled would have worked a little bit better for Cobra. It definitely has that, you know, a few minutes into the future feel to it than than what G.I. Joe stuff tended to have. I mean, G.I. Joe did start off right away with, you know, laser artillery cannons and jump jet packs. So they definitely had their futuristic stuff as well.
It was always tied to military things though, wasn't it? It's still kind of tied to that military kind of looking theme. Whereas Cobra had a HISS tank that looked like a snake head. You know, it was very specifically, you know, Cobra related. Yeah. And you're right, like, you know, even like the futuristic kind of stuff was based on kind of almost real world stuff for the G.I. Joe vehicles. But yeah, you're right. With Cobra, you could definitely see that working definitely a bit more than, you know, for them than for the Joes. I really want them to do a classified recon sled and kind of sort of redesign it a bit to actually make it really good. Do you know what I mean? Like really practical. Because I feel like the little wheels on the front cause a bit of an issue on the vintage figure vehicle.
Yeah, LCV, low crawl vehicle. I mean, does that... I always kind of wondered what exactly that entailed. Does that mean that it's slow? That it's a crawl vehicle?
Well, and in the cartoon, it was
not that low.
In the cartoon, it's like a, you know, really cool, like, you know, super cool motorbike thing. But yeah, and the toy,
they're also flying around, you know, long distances in Skyhawks in the cartoon.
Yep.
You know, where that was like a puddle jumper originally. Like it just could kind of, I think, just kind of hop, basically, right?
That's amazing. So it was like the first Pogo.
Oh man, I don't think it was quite that.
Yeah, Chris says it means low profile, low crawl. Yeah, yeah, it's absolutely. I mean, I totally understand that. I just think they could really redesign it to make it look and act, you know, work a lot better. But yeah, so yeah, and again, I think it works really well. I like the fact that Kickley did this as a Cobra vehicle. It's kind of like a nice way, you know, a good way to visualize what it would look like in the Cobra ranks as well.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's just, you know, blue. It's not, he didn't go crimson or one of the team repaints. He just made it blue. So
we need a Python Patrol one next. Thanks, Kickley. Get it going, mate. Brilliant stuff. Awesome as always. That's it. We've reached the end of the weekly. It's been another busy one. Pat, thanks for joining me, buddy, again.
Yeah, thanks for having me on again.
Thanks for all the comments. Thanks to everyone in the hanging around with us for the afternoon. We really appreciate it. Hope you have a great weekend. We do have things coming obviously in the future, but I'll just surprise you. It'll be more fun that way. And hopefully we'll get a few more kind of live shows over the weekend as well. So keep an eye out for that. Stay fresh cheese bags, I should say. And after 3, I think you know what to do. I think everyone knows what to do at this point, don't they? Do you know what to do?
I hope so. Yeah. If you don't, you'll learn this time, and then do it next. Then come back again and do it next week.
After 3, are you just going to say no when I get to the 3? Is that what's going to happen? No. He just said it. He just did it. Did anyone get that? Did everyone get that? After 3, 1, 2, 3.
Full force.
No.
Make sure you get involved with the discussion by liking, sharing and commenting on these videos, and as always you can keep up with the show after listening by following on X, formerly Twitter, @TheFullForce, liking the Facebook page, facebook.com/TheFullForce. We've also added a brand new Instagram, so check us out there as well @TheFullForce Podcast, and if you would like to contact the show you can message us on any of those platforms with feedback and questions. We also have a Patreon page, so if you want to show your support for the show, see your name up in lights on these videos, or enjoy exclusive bonus content, then check out patreon.com/TheFullForce Podcast, or click on the link on any of the posts this podcast appears in. Full Force.